So what would any American do if they're in Paris during the Olympics? Great question. So yeah, you go to Disneyland Paris because you're here for a day, right?
So this is a video about my one day at Disneyland Paris in the middle of a 3-day trip. Of course, I'm going to go through the whole thing in order, but it was an interesting trip going to Disneyland. And Space Mountain, it goes partially outside. Yeah, that was kind of weird. But anyways.
Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Darren. I'm a dad. I'm an airline pilot. I'm a husband of a scientist. I'm on the way to the airport to fly to Paris, actually a flying trip for a change. I'm on short call reserve this month. My wrap today started at 11 a.m. This trip opened up around noon, and they called me about 12:40 p.m. for a 4 p.m. report time. It's currently 3:12 p.m. I live 10 miles from the airport. It's not an issue getting there on time. But I find it funny that I haven't flown a plane since, I haven't landed the actual airplane since June. I was going to go illegal today. Yesterday, I had to go do sims. I did 3 landings in a sim to get current. And then very next day, I get a flying trip. Easy trip. First, it'll be my first time going to Paris as a pilot. 777-200, there and back. Very senior captain, fairly senior FB, relief pilot. And then there's me, super junior guy. All my cabin crew, flight attendants, all very senior. And the bad part is, if you have watched any kind of TV, is that right now in Paris is the Olympics. So rather than stay by the touristy areas in a nice hotel, we're all staying. I think every airline is staying by the airport. It's unfortunate. It is what it is, right? But this will probably be my last trip of the month. I am good for 5 days. Today is Sunday. I am good. I'm reserved Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I get back Tuesday afternoon, about 3 in the afternoon, and then I'm on reserve Wednesday, Thursday, but I'll probably have the days off. So if that works correct, I'll be working 6 days for the whole month. You can't complain too much. But follow along. I try to film as much as I can on my trip to Paris. And I do have a seatbelt on. Yeah, I think I already said that. Maybe I did. All right, let's go.
As far as our routing over there, you can see our full flight plan on the left-hand side. We took a very kind of a northern route, and we exited over, I guess, northeast Canada and out over the Atlantic Ocean. Again, because I had a second break, my break started just past 30 West, and I woke up just over France, which again, they all speak English, but it's a French English, and it's not very easy to understand always. As far as leaving DFW, we were on the Blico departure, and every departure out of DFW, for the most part, has a crossing restriction, about 5,000 feet. This one's YAML, 240 knots, and 5,000 feet or above. The 777, 2, and 3 have a very hard time making this restriction on hot days, so we have to get relief. And when days give us a heading, we have charts in the airplane, plus the computer can tell us if we're going to make it or not. And as far as the arrival in Paris, it was the L'Occip 9 Echo arrival. It was for runway 8 right, and we ended at Mopar, which is one fix. But then there's a transition to the approach. So you see Mopar goes all the way down to IG08 right, I believe that says on there. And then that joins the actual ILS for 08 right. It's pretty easy, but you have to piece them all together. And the captain made a great landing on 8 right, and that's when some confusion started. Again, we've all been up for a long time. We had naps, but the grass situation at the airport is out of control. They need to hire someone to cut the grass. It blocks many taxi signs, and it was a little bit confusing. So we exited around the Victor 7 high speed, crossed that Sierra 7, and I believe they said taxi via Tango Bravo 2 or Tango Echo Bravo 2. He said it very quickly in a French accent, and I'm like, so I'm looking at Tango, trying to figure out where it crosses the Echo. And then I'm thinking, okay. And then I'm looking for Bravo 2, like an intersection, but it wasn't an intersection. It was Tango Bravo 2, which was the entry point to the ramp. Again, not a big deal. The FB helped us figure it out. But the grass situation did not help. I wish I could take photos while I was taxiing, but it's not allowed. But the grass there is so high. It blocks so much signage. It is not very easy. Look at all the taxiways right here and all the little intersections. It can be a little bit confusing. But we made our way around to the gate. Gate was wide open. We parked in the very end of the terminal. We did the shutdown and secure checklist, and then I began packing stuff up. Yeah, I'm looking outside for some tall grass. You can't see anything, but I promise you the grass is really tall there. And one thing I do when I leave the flight deck, I always come back and look for things I left behind. So here I am going back inside for a video, but also looking to make sure I didn't leave anything. I left something, but that will be covered in a later part of the video. We made our way over to the hotel and debriefed. So I'm in Paris, and I already was getting ready to take a nap. That's why I'm at my uniform, because I'm tired. So this kind of transpired pretty quickly. Did my landings yesterday. Well, what day is it? It's Monday right now in Paris. I did my landings in the sim to get current on Saturday. Sunday, I had an 11 a.m. wrap, and for my family, so maybe we can go to Six Flags today or Hurricane Harbor or something. So, I don't know. Shouldn't be that. Yeah, we can do it. And then they said they want to go to a movie. I'm like, I'm not going to a movie. I'm not a movie theater person. Whole different story. Anyways, they went to a movie at 11:40, and at noon, I got a notification on my phone that a trip to Paris had opened up with a 5 p.m. departure. I'm like, well, it could go to makeup, meaning a line pilot that wants extra money, extra flying. It could go to me. I'm the next in line to get a trip. I can see on the reserve list. And sure enough, around 12:40, I got a phone call. And I knew what was happening. And that video might be in this video. Because I was folding clothes. I went, they're scheduling, right? Because it rings my phone and my iPad, my computer all at once. So I joked with the schedule a little bit. And then I said, all right. So I had like a 4-hour notice before I get to the airport. No, 3-hour notice before I get to the airport. 3 hours, 20 minutes. So packed up, headed to the airport. There is one follower, and I'm very sorry that you did ask if I was at the airport, and I wasn't at the airport when you messaged me. And then later you told me you're going to Boston at Terminal D in a few minutes, and I was in Terminal D. And yeah, I didn't have time to meet you really, because I got to the airport, went straight to the crew room, met the captain, went straight to the gate. But yeah, I'm sorry I didn't meet you, and we were probably in the same terminal, but maybe next time. The flight over here, again, I'm an FO on this trip, flying trip. Captain, great guy, very senior. He was a long-time 777 FO, and he's been captain on the plane since January. The FB has been on the plane for 5 years. He's very senior to me. He's like 5,000 numbers senior to me. I elected to fly back from Paris. So, 777-200, left on time. I made some very small mistakes leaving the gate. Like I had the wrong departure frequency listed, but the FB caught it before we even got to the runway. What else did I not do? I didn't do something else. It was very minor, but they caught my mistake. And I told them right away, so I'm very average, so if you see a mistake, let me know. Pretty decent flight over here. Being the FO, I had the last break. So I was up front for about 6 hours-ish. Had about 2-hour and 40-minute break. The bunks on the 777-200 aren't my favorite, but I did use the bunk versus our first class seat we get. I slept for about an hour and 50, about 2 hours and 40 probably, maybe 2 hours. I slept pretty hard. We had some turbulence for a little while, is what it is. They had my wake-up call in my bunk area for me to be in my seat half an hour before arrival. So pretty quick. I came back up front. When I went to my break, it was dark, and then I came back up front. It was full light. Got my breakfast from my purser. Ate my breakfast in the descent. Scarfed down real quick, and the captain hadn't been in Paris in a long time. The FB was in Paris recently. I have never been here before as a pilot. Very confusing, convoluted airport, and they have bad signage. Like I wish I could take a picture, but I can take it from my hotel room because I'm at the airport. Bad signage and overgrown grass everywhere. But we made it. We landed on 8 right, and the taxi instructions were Echo Tango Bravo 2. And I thought that was Echo Tango Bravo 2. No, I'll show you on the screen. It's Echo all the way around to Tango Bravo 2 is one entry point. And the FB caught that. Got to the gate, and we all quickly cleared customs. And at the hotel, I think every airline Every U.S. I think every airline is staying at airport hotels because of the Olympics. So I'm gonna take a nap. It's currently 10:24 local, 3:24 in Dallas. Maybe about a 2 hour nap. Wake up and see what I want to do. All right, it continues. So after my nap, I wanted to go to Disneyland, and I figured it's like a subway train. You just go down and catch a train. No, my understanding is this train happens to stop at the airport and continues on to Disneyland. Last minute ticket, 36 euro, not very cheap. 16 on the way back. Pro tip: see the sign? It tells you where the train is in relation to your zone for your seat. Very important. It's a very long train. I was in zone 18, so car 18. So I went to zone A to board the door. It's a 10-minute train ride. If I'd gone to zone J, I would not have walked back to my seat before we arrived in Disneyland. Anyways, the train arrived, and again, I had about an hour wait because I missed the previous train. It's called WeGo, and a very nice employee tried to help me get the app to buy a ticket. And I'm looking for WEGO. No, it's WeGo, like I guess French. And it's a very packed train, double decker, assigned seating. So I went up, got into my seat on the upstairs seat. Very short ride. And nice countryside ride over to Disneyland. Got there, and here I am in Disneyland, the happiest place on earth in France, anyways. First ride was Space Mountain, which is partially outside. That blew my mind. But the whole park, it was a beautiful day there, about 90 degrees, and it was empty. I didn't wait in line more than 5 minutes for any, I'm sorry, 15 minutes for any ride. And the longest ride was the train ride I took. But it was a great day. Pirates of the Caribbean, it was in French. I rode several rides. Of course, I rode the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. I love this game. It's very competitive in my family. Very similar game over there in France. I had to drive and shoot. I had a pretty good score. Um, I didn't know where the secret targets were to get you extra points. I didn't look it up ahead of time, but again, I love this ride. And I had a great time at Disney, even though I was by myself the entire day. And the park is very similar layout. Some of the rides aren't in the right spots, according to Disney World logic anyway, but I walked around the park several times. I did the whole park in 5 hours. I had a great lunch at Hakuna Matata. It said it was African food. The food was fine. There was zero lines for food. Again, nice day, no lines for food. In the US, there'd be crazy lines for everything. I'd be ordering ahead of time. Again, I can't stress how there were no lines. I did think it was odd. You can't just buy a ticket for Disneyland Paris. You have to like buy a ticket in advance. It has to be a dated ticket, and you have to like register online to make sure they'll allow you to have it coming that day. Again, they had no problems going there. I left the park. I wanted a cold drink. Went over to Starbucks. They spelled my name funny. I kind of laughed at that. It was hot. Again, it was a long day, and I was ready to go home. So I headed back to the train station.
All right, it's almost 7 o'clock, so I'm going to head back to the airport. Whole day at Disneyland Paris. Anyway, I got here around 5 hours, and I did see the whole park. It's not that big. Disney World in the United States is much bigger with more rides, but it's one way to spend an overnight, right? It's been a day, a fun day. It's around 7:30. I'll be at the hotel by 8:15. Plenty of time to get plenty of rest, over 12 hours of rest still. Before I have to get tomorrow morning and get ready to go back home to Dallas. It's been an expensive day, and my wife found out where I was after I left the park. So that's fun. The return train was kind of interesting. When it got here, everyone got off the train. Like a lot of people got off the train. I'm guessing they're all staying at Disneyland. There was almost no one on board between the park stop and the actual airport stop. I did get annoyed by the amount of smokers. Like people got off the train and just smoked right next to the entrance of each car. Like, come on, man. But anyways. And good morning. It is Tuesday at 8:56 a.m., 1:56 in Dallas time. 7 hours difference, right? Should be sleeping right now. Had a good night's rest. I went to bed around, I fell asleep, I think, around 9:45, 9:30-ish. Woke up a few times, as I always do. And then because the time change, and it's just, my body's like, why are you sleeping at, 4 in the afternoon? Uh, but I woke up this morning about 6:30, which again, I normally sleep at home between 10 and like 5 a.m. About the same amount of sleep I normally get. Wanted breakfast, and again, we're in an airport hotel, so I went searching for breakfast, and it's not that easy finding an American breakfast in France. I did find Starbucks, and I got a Starbucks sandwich, best I could do. We need more American food. Just kidding. Long day today. Again, call it 2 a.m. in Dallas. I land in Dallas in 12 hours and 40 minutes. It's a long day. My leg back, and so I'll be taking the second break, the first break, no, second break. So, that kind of cuts the flight in half, right? If it's a 10-hour flight-ish, gate to gate, I fly 3 hours, sleep 3 hours, fly 3 hours. Not too bad. But yeah, had a good day yesterday in Disney, and my wife did catch me. I was trying to not be caught by her because she likes Disney, and I don't like Disney, but I had to have something to do, right? So I went to Disney, and I had left the park. I was sitting in a train station when she just texted me. I might put it on the screen, maybe I won't. But she's like, "Jerk!" I'm like, "What did I do?" And she saw my location. But we've been together 22 years. What is she gonna do, right? But yeah, different overnight for me. I would like to come back here, and when we stay downtown, seeing at the airport isn't ideal, but at least by the airport, it's a shorter trip to Disney. 'Cause I doubt I would go from downtown to Disney because I think you have to go back to the airport first to do it. It's less than ideal. All right. Well, I'm going to finish packing the room and head to the meet the crew downstairs. It continues. So I met the crew downstairs, and we all head over to the airport. Cleared customs, walked through the duty free. It's required. Very fancy waiting area at the Paris airport. I'm quite impressed. Very chic. Lots of red, lots of colors. They even had a PS5 station for kids to play games at. The terminal seemed very crowded, and I realized why. There were a lot of non-revs mixed into this group, and they've been stuck here for days. I don't non-rev to Europe in the summertime. You should buy a ticket. Good luck to them. Over 50 non-revs, and only cabin jump seaters, meaning flight attendants, and a pilot got on board. No one else. So unfortunately, we get to the airport, go through security, and then we go through customs, which is really easy to do. And we get to the gate area right when the plane pulls in. What does that mean? Well, we're not going to leave on time anyway, because if a entire 777 pulls in, it's going to take a little while to deplane, which I think they're done. Check the time. It is currently 10:16, which again is 3:16 Dallas time. I see more people coming off the airplane, so they should be cleaning it now. But you people are a mess. It takes a while to clean the airplane. So no big hurry. Didn't buy any souvenirs this trip for the family because they don't care when I buy them stuff anymore, so I don't. I looked for some Olympic stuff. Didn't see anything that was really interesting at the airport. But maybe I'll pick up another trip, or maybe I'll bid for another trip to Paris and buy something. But for now, I'm going to enjoy my cafe latte from Fretz. I didn't get Starbucks. You're welcome. And watch some TikToks. Home in 11 hours and 30 minutes in theory, but we'll see because we're late. Good morning. It continues. So as I mentioned before, only cabin jump seaters, meaning flight attendants, and one pilot got on board as far as the non-rev. The one pilot was a envoy pilot, and he got really lucky. So we get a first class seat for crew rest if we want to use it, plus the 2 bunks. With a 3-pilot crew, not many use it on like daytime flights, and this is an overnight flight, so none of us wanted to use our first class seat. So we told the envoy pilot, listen, normally you're in that first class seat for takeoff and landing, and then you're up front with us for the whole flight. But on this flight, you can have our first class seat. It is your lucky day. I tried to use Microsoft Flight Sim to show you our taxi route in real time, but when this program was released, the airport had not yet been updated. There's a whole taxiway delta that's missing off this sim. But when we leave the gate, how my role goes as a first officer, we have no idea how much we actually weigh. So when we push back from the gate, the gate agent puts in the final passenger counts, and then the cargo and our ramp team puts in the final weight and final cargo weight, and it's all put into a computer and sent to the airplane. My job as first officer is to compare what we were planned to weigh
And then we also have an assumed number many times, which is 3,000 pounds higher to account for last minute bags and last minute weight. But I compare the weight, the current wind, the temperature. I look at our takeoff power settings. I look at the kind of dangerous goods. So I'm looking at everything that's going on with the airplane, weight and safety wise and thrust wise, and making sure what we actually have matches or is it within tolerance of what we had planned to have. And then I give the captain a brief basically saying, weight, winds, temps are good. The restricted articles are on board. We're good for a TO2, flaps 15, takeoff, derated to 34 degrees, off runway 9 right at intersection, whatever. So I give him a full spiel of what's going on. It takes a little time to get used to saying all that. Now, once we get that done, we head over to runway 9 right. We did take off from an intersection. Again, we have performance data that shows where, the full length and then many common intersection departure points. So again, we don't need the full length of the runway. But nice, easy takeoff and a nice swooping left turn. I hand flew to about 8,000, 9,000 feet. Again, if I'm going in a straight line for more than 20 nautical miles, I turn on the autopilot. And from that point on, it was a pretty easy flight. Again, I had the second rake, had a nice long nap, and we got into Dallas. We got into northern Canada area, crossing the pond. I was back out front, and from that point on, we kind of relaxed, and I talked to the FB, got into the Dallas area, and I've been lucky in Dallas. I have only landed on 1-8 right or 3-6 left. I haven't had to land on the east side of the airport in the long taxi yet in the 777. The day is coming. But anyways, I managed a very good landing on 1-8 right. Again, I haven't landed 200 in a while. It wasn't smooth, but it wasn't buttery smooth, but it was a very good landing. Even both pilots said it was a pretty good job. Pulled into Terminal D, and I began packing up my stuff. Again, I'm doing an extra good job now looking around because I don't want to leave anything behind like I did in Paris. Finished the secure checklist and headed out the door. Of course, I did take one more look back in that cubbyhole just to make sure nothing was left behind, and indeed it was not. Plane is shut down, well, it's secured anyway. Went up the escalator, cleared customs, and headed out the door. Again, I wasn't exhausted on this trip. It has to do with the times. I've been pretty good about resting on the airplane and feeling great when I got home, except for there's one London trip which I used to like, flight 50 and 51. I don't like 51 anymore. It starts too early. Anyways, that's for another day. That's my next trip actually.
So as far as my compensation, I was paid for 19 hours and 43 minutes at 286.26 an hour, equaling 56.44 and 9 cents. I was paid international pay of 98.58. My per diem was 47 and a half hours at $3.40 per hour. That's our international per diem. That's 161.50, bringing for a total of $5,904.17. I absolutely appreciate your support. Have an absolutely wonderful day. And if you can or you want to, consider subscribing. I'm on multiple platforms. I try to have a video every week on Thursdays. Thank you and have a great day.